Hello and welcome to Witchy Wellness Radio. I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, women's holistic health coach and fellow recovering perfectionist. This podcast was created to show you that your body is not in the way, it is actually leading your way. Hello, everybody. It's your host, Lauren Chalantani, and welcome to episode number 53, Heads Up Health with David Korsunsky. And today we talk about big data and technology and how it can be really helpful for our health and biohacking and even help let you know you're going to get sick before you actually feel sick or see symptoms of being sick. And I know technology isn't something we really get into that much on the show, but when I heard about Heads Up Health, our guest David Korsunsky's company he started, I knew how much this could help us all integrate all of the tech that we already use on a day-to-day basis, and you're able to get all of your health records, including medical records or chiropractor or holistic health coach or nutritionist, all in one place so you can see the correlations between what you're doing, how you're feeling, and your biofeedback. And, I feel like everybody either has an Apple Watch, a Fitbit, now there's an OuraRing, or even if you just carry your phone around with you all the time, you are tracking data. You're tracking your steps. You're tracking your sleep. I know so many people track so many things. And this show talks about how we can utilize all that information into one easy-to-use, organized spot. So David spent over 15 years in the technology industry, and he went through his own health crisis, which led him to create this platform, which now is called Heads Up Health, and it's a centralized area where you can interpret all the medical data that you get, and you can make informed decisions for your health for the better. And this was an awesome podcast, really nerded out about all this stuff, but it shows you how integrating this information is not only easy, but how impactful it can be with your entire health. So please enjoy episode 53, Heads Up Health. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Witchy Wellness Radio, the show where you get to learn that your body is not actually in your way, but leading your way. And today I'm so excited to talk nerdy tech stuff, big data today, and talking about the game-changing role that new technology can play in fighting coronavirus with devices and apps available to us that could save our lives, but also how we look at all of our medical data through the doctors and through the apps and different tech that we use every day so we can see a bigger, better holistic picture so we can make better informed choices for ourselves. So welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm excited for our discussion. We were nerding out even before we hit the record button, so I think we're going to have a fun time here getting into all the details.
And that always happens. We were like, we better just hit record because if we don't, then we'll miss some gems. Well, a little bit more bio on you before we jump all the way in. David Korsunsky is spent 15 years in the industry-leading technology in Silicon Valley before creating Heads Up Health, which is a mobile app and a mobile web portal that integrates all popular health and fitness devices and apps, as well as users' lifelong health records, syncing seamlessly with pharmacies, clinics, and hospitals. This platform enables users to monitor and manage their bio readings and take actions if something is off. Immediate access gives the attending doctor a unique blueprint to our individual health profile and provide a roadmap to course correct of treatment. But I think it's so empowering to have all that in your hands. And wow, powerful stuff, pulling all of this information into one easy to use platform. How did you get from this tech nerd to now health nerd? I'm sure there's some inspirational story in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I spent many years in the technology industry, and a lot of that time I was in the San Francisco Bay Area. And this was like 2011, before there was any real cool health technology on the market. And it was a bunch of nerds like building stuff in their garage to like measure like heart rate variability and like other physiological parameters. So I was like in the early days of like just bootstrapped stuff. And it was cool because we were all looking for interesting ways to better understand our physical performance and stuff like that. And over the years, I started seeing more of this amazing technology coming on the market. But one of the biggest problems was there was no real way for the average person to really put the pieces together. And the only people who were able to make any sense of this data were the engineers who could write their own code and pull these feeds in and do statistical analysis on the data. And that's just not obviously scalable. So I'd always had this idea of building a centralized way that anybody can do it, even if they're not super tech savvy. And then I had my own health issues that I had to worry about. Luckily, they ended up being things that were totally reversible, but a lot of it was just due to what I guess you would call maladaptive stress, which means your the stress you're experiencing emotionally, chemically, whatever, is starting to have physical manifestations and affecting my ability to sleep and to focus, and just it was having an adverse effect. So I had to basically like reverse engineer my own pretty serious stress issues. And as you know, Lauren, that requires you to holistically look at a lot of things in your life that you probably have never paid attention to. And actually, that's the blessing in most major health issues, is that it's unfortunate, but that's what causes us to really start examining and making changes. You have to have that oh shit moment before you really start to make some changes. So I was just I was just on a standard American diet. I didn't know anything about changing the food I was eating. I just ate what I wanted to eat. And I'd never meditated for even one blink of an eye in my entire life. And there was just a lot of things I had to work on, lifestyle wise, health wise, and I had an amazing outcome. And I tracked everything religiously in a web program I wrote. I wrote the program for myself, and I could share it with my functional doctor who was 3 states over. So it allowed us to have some data to work with during this process. And at the end, my doctor and I looked at each other and we're like, hey, this is actually awesome. You got to make this app available for people. You're like, really not really into that kind of thing. I'm just going to probably go get some other tech job. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll make it available on the web for people. And I'm like, maybe somebody will send me a nice email saying that this was helpful to them. That was pretty much my only criteria for success. I got one complimentary email. It was never intended to be anything more than that. It was a passion project. So it just started evolving. And then we started being able to get people's medical records synced in. And that was a huge game changer because you could make a lifestyle change. Maybe it's diet, maybe it's trying meditation, maybe it's working on something related to physical exercise, etc. And then you could see if that was affecting your lab test results, which signify presence of disease or not. So we put all those pieces together, and it's just kind of taken on a life of its own now. And just recently, we released a special version for coronavirus. And we did that and made it available for free so that everybody can track their vital signs at home. Because depending on where you live in the country right now, going to the hospital might actually not be the best decision. It might actually put you at increased risk, depending again on where you live. So 90% of, I don't know the exact statistic on it, I don't want to quote myself, but most cases of coronavirus do not require hospitalization. But how do you know? You need to have some vital signs to share with the doctor over the phone. And a lot of clinics actually are closed. So it's just the hospitals. So we made a special coronavirus version, and we can talk more about those metrics. But now there's just incredible technology. Most consumers now have access to health technology that is more sophisticated than the typical doctor. You and I were talking about some of that tech on the market today. And we can see every heartbeat, we can see every step, we can see every breath, we can see all the calories going in our body. So it's becoming very mainstream, and there's a need for a way to give people access to this information, and that's our company.
Beautiful. It's so much better than my notebook of my food diary. My hodgepodge. I used to be
Hey,
way back in the day, I used to do MyFitnessPal. I used to be religious
yeah,
about that. Now I'm like, but
it's
so much more in depth.
biofeedback.
Yeah.
Whether you write it on a piece of paper or whether you look at it on a screen, the notion that you are measuring something on your health and getting that feedback, that guides behavior change, and you can
Mm-hmm.
use that for behavior change. So you can go super low tech, or you can go like super nerd and on our system and get it all in there. But even paper and pen, that's a start. You're learning about your body and getting feedback.
Beautiful. Let's jump into some of the tech. We've talked about a few different things that are out there that people might already have
Mhm.
that sync up to this, and maybe loop those things that people already have and how that could help with the metrics for coronavirus and actually measure that.
Yeah, let's just start with the basics on our coronavirus dashboard, and you can go use it for free. It's headsuphealth.com/coronavirus. We just put it out there as a way to contribute to the cause. But the first number on your dashboard is your body temperature, and that's the first thing that they'll check is your temperature, looking for presence of a fever. You've probably seen all these testing stations with these like forehead scanners, and they're looking for temperature. And so most people have a thermometer somewhere in their medicine cabinet. It doesn't have to be wireless. It just needs to be able to give you a good reading. And so you take a few temperature readings, and it's good to check over the course of 3 or 4 days, even when you're feeling healthy. That's actually the best time to start testing because you have to know your baseline. Some people run cold. One of the guys that works with me, he runs on a normal day, he's at 95, I think. And if you have a thyroid issue, you might run cold. So if you don't know where your baseline is, you don't know when you've gone outside of baseline. So, and conversely, some people run hot. So that's the first thing people can do, especially if they're at higher risk for complications, elderly, or if they already have symptoms. Simple thing. So body temperature. And if you want to get fancy and get a Bluetooth thermometer, that'll sync up automatically onto your dashboard. So that's the first one. The second one is resting heart rate. And you don't even need a device for that. You just need to know how to check your heart rate when you've been sitting still. Typically in the morning, check at the same time every day and have a baseline. That's also something that a lot of the wearables and the sensors can pick up. They can pick up significant deviation in heart rate. And you and I talked about one of those devices earlier. So as your body temperature rises, because you're starting to experience a fever, your heart rate also rises. Typically, for every 1 degree your body temperature goes up, you might see your heart rate, resting heart rate now, rise by as much as 10 beats per minute. So even if you don't have a thermometer, if your resting heart rate's jumping, that's a great indicator that your body is mounting some kind of a defense. And then the next one would be blood oxygen. You know the O2 sensor they put on your index finger when you go into the waiting room? Those are like $20. And like anybody can buy one. And like when you're having shortness of breath or the flu or anything like that, that's like indicator number one that the doctors are going to want to know before they're going to say, stay home, you're fine, or you need to go to the hospital now. And anybody can buy one of these things. And hopefully this virus never comes back and we don't have to worry about this anymore. Another possible reality is that we just don't know. And having one of these in the medicine cabinet is now something you should consider for situations precisely like this. And then the last one on there is blood pressure. And again, that's something that anybody can measure. Again, it's a vital sign that your doctor will take as soon as you come in the office. We've all gone in, and first thing the nurse does is take you in the little room and do blood pressure, temperature, blood oxygen. So those are some simple things anybody can measure at home and share them with the doctor and just start to learn about their body.
Yeah, and I like how you integrate all this technology, but the end of the day, it's empowering you, the
Totally.
person,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
to learn about your own body. And there's this cheesy quote I used to tell
Love
myself all the
cheesy
time. Love
quotes.
cheesy. It's not
Go.
really cheesy. I don't know.
Okay.
It's the doctor might have a huge body of knowledge, but you
Yeah.
have knowledge of your own body.
Yeah.
And this just helps pair the actual data to how it feels in your body so you can draw those connections on top
That's
of
the magic
empowering your
right
doctor
there.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Some different healthcare professionals respond differently when people show up with their own data. And
Hmm.
that's a whole separate conversation.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully you have a supportive one. Otherwise, they might just barf all over it. So that's a case-by-case situation. But that's exactly right. You talk to people who have any type of sophisticated health tracker, an Apple Watch, an Oura Ring, um, a BioSense, a glucometer. They know their body better than their doctor does. They know, okay, if I eat this, my blood sugar goes through the roof. And the next person who eats that same food might not see their blood sugar go. It's all that's how you learn about yourself. And you can learn like what your optimal bedtimes are to get the best recovery. And you can learn when you should stop eating during the day to get the best sleep. There's actually a lot of correlations there. You can learn like what alcohol does to your heart rate variability. So yeah, you start to learn yourself in a really powerful way. And that's our secret mission, Lauren, is to make everybody a health data nerd, so that they know their numbers and they get ahead of issues, and that becomes preventative when you're aware of your body and monitoring on an ongoing basis. I'll just say this: some people, it's not for everybody, and I totally respect the fact that some people get a little too wrapped up in the numbers, and that's an individual thing, and it can be frustrating for a lot of people too, like people who are trying to work on their blood sugar and the numbers are actually becoming counterproductive because they're getting frustrated. So these are all things that are on an individualized basis, but overall we think the monitoring is really powerful.
I agree. I think we have an episode this season talking about biohacking
Yeah.
and kind of looking at your own genome. We spoke briefly a little bit about, I think we said your like microbiome and like your gut
Yeah.
biome. Could you talk
Hmm.
about either of those and how you can integrate these pretty much new industry or parts of technology in the medicine about biohacking and using that data to implement here?
Yeah, well, again, you're talking about things that are now available to the everyday consumer that, quite honestly, a regular doctor is never even going to fathom running. Let's just take a genetic report, for example. So one of the companies we work with is called Nutrition Genome, and the founder is Alex Swanson. He's been doing clinical nutrition for 20 years. And he got really intrigued why some patients would respond better to certain nutritional therapies than others. Same therapy for the same issue, but two people would respond totally differently. The same food. So there has to be a genetic component to this. And so he spent his whole life looking at genetic markers and how they determine which diet you respond best to. And there's actually genes that determine how well your body processes carbohydrates. And mutations there put you at higher risk for diabetes. Like, knowing that can be super powerful. There are people who actually have a really hard time breaking down dietary fat, and they probably should not be on a carnivore diet. So there's genetic clues as well, and you can just go order this test for $99, get an incredible report, and start optimizing the food you eat based on your genetic information, and then go see your results. Did my hemoglobin A1C get better? So now you're taking a genetic thing that you did with a saliva test that cost you $99, and you can look at that next to your lab results and see if it's affecting your thyroid, your inflammation, your blood sugar. And you don't need to be a medical expert to do this. You may need to consult with a nutritionist, for example, that can help you with it. But this is the type of information now that we have access to as individuals. So that's the genome, and then the microbiome. That's a whole nother area of very, very complex interactions that I'm not going to profess to be an expert around at all. But there are microbiome experts who can look at how healthy your microbiome is, that is a huge source of chronic illness, inflammation, and candida effects from that are very serious. When I was going through my stress issues, I actually had a very inflammatory gram-negative bacterial infection in my GI tract that was just totally missed. My doctor doesn't ever test the microbiome. So I had to go to the functional doc, and they found it, and we treated it. So these are parts of the journey that people can start to go deeper on, depending on their health goals.
So somebody who might be listening to the show is probably going to be using somebody like a functional doctor.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're going to like a more Western traditional doctor, a functional doctor, or even, like you said, nutritionist, or more of like a health coach to help you integrate all of this. This is not just for the traditional medical industry. I'm just trying to make that point, and I'm sure you can elaborate on that too.
Well, the problem is most of our medical records are stored in these systems.
Yeah.
So like what we're trying to do is say, okay, Lauren can sign up for an account and she can connect her medical providers that have her blood work, the traditional stuff, cholesterol and stuff like that. So what we want to do is pull the data out of those systems into your portal so that you can share it with a functional doctor. And you may still be able to go to your regular doctor to get your blood work done and covered by insurance, but you can have consultation on it from other healthcare professionals because you have a copy of it in your heads up account. So it's really more just facilitating access to that information. And that's what I needed to do. I was in San Francisco. All my lab work was at UCSF and Stanford in their patient portal. But my functional doctor was in Texas. So I needed a way to get the data out of those systems and put it back together chronologically so he could see if what he was doing was actually working or not. And he needed a way to access it. So that's kind of how the whole system works.
Awesome. I love how you build it just for you. And now it's this, I'm sure you get many of happy emails that it helps somebody.
For every happy email I get like 20 people like crapping all over me because like there's some little UX thing that doesn't work, or, it's hard building like software that at a level that expectations are extremely high among consumers because they're using Apple Health and like Garmin and Fitbit. And, these companies have been at it for 15 years and have hundreds of software engineers. So we get both sides of it. Let's just say that.
Well, that's all of life. We gotta.
Fair. You're right.
We got it all. And I think you mentioned something like if we didn't have a healthcare crisis in our life, there were no challenges, we wouldn't have the opportunity to really look at this and make changes.
Yeah. But it would all be the biohackers. I was totally healthy when I started measuring myself.
Yeah.
Because I was interested in, okay, well, how can I get to the next level of my abilities in any area of life, whether you're a mom or you're a software engineer or any pursuit in life. I wanted to see what the limits were. So I was using it when I was totally healthy. And, then I had a health issue and it became even more relevant. But for a lot of people, I think a health issue is what really causes them to get serious in the first place. And for a lot of people, it could be this coronavirus. And unfortunately, the people that are seeming to be at highest risk for complications are those with certain underlying chronic health conditions, obesity being one of the most prevalent ones. So I think there's going to be a lot of people when this is all said and done that are going to really start to take a more empowered role in their health.
Yeah, that's my hope. I keep thinking about those positive outcomes is, like in anything, it's a choice to see it, any situation, as a victim or become empowered from it. And my hope is that people just start to wake up in different ways, whether it's their careers, their relationships, because so many people are stuck at home with people they do not like, and they can't run away from that.
No, you're going to have to run outside into the zombie apocalypse. And, that's not good.
Or the opposite. The opposite's been for me. We've been loving it. So you
Yeah.
know, it just depends. It's just your perspective.
Yeah.
And
I'm an introverted bachelor, Lauren. So this has been like the best 3 weeks of my life. I'm not going to lie. Just getting great work done. You know, I'm keeping fit, and like, I've never slept this good in my life. You know, I'm just like such a simple life. You know what I mean? So
yep,
there's pros and cons for sure.
that's what we've been doing. And you know what? We went to Whole Foods yesterday.
Yeah.
Nobody there. It was the
Yeah.
best shopping experience I've
Oh,
had.
that's hilarious. I gotta go. Actually, I gotta make a run. I'll check it out tonight. But I was at Sprouts picking up some stuff for my family a few days ago, and yeah, it was. You know, that was the first. I have some family members that are immune compromised, so I have to be super careful, even like when I bring them groceries and stuff like that. So this was the first time I'd worn a mask to a grocery store, and I'm kind of like, this feels a little weird. You know, I was in the car and I put the mask on, and so I went into Sprouts, but like, it's totally cool. All the staff were wearing them, and it was like, okay, so if we're in flu season and other things like that, it felt kind of good, because like I'm not sick, but I know that people were protecting other people,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't weird at all.
No, no. Looping back to kind of like how you said your own journey, and so many of our own health journeys is related to stress.
Mm-hmm.
And that parasympathetic versus sympathetic nervous system response can mess up everything.
Yeah, I had it
And
bad.
yeah, yeah. Well, how, I mean, if you don't mind sharing, take maybe a step away from the big data. You probably use this to make informed decisions. What were some of the big things that helped you, maybe mindset wise, or meditation, or diet, or whatever, that really helps you step outside of that fight or flight and back into that like rest and restore, just kind of like homeostasis?
Well, I remember that one of the side effects from this maladaptive stress was my fight or flight system was like so jacked that like when I would lie down to go to bed, as soon as my body would drift into sleep, it would jolt awake. So because it was in a threat state. So you're just, and this is happening over and over again, and you can't, and the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. And like the instant you nod off, your body like physically jolts itself awake. And that's just because my sympathetic system was so jacked. So the what I would do in those situations is I would put a guided body scan meditation on with my headphones, and I had some on my phone, and they were like 45-minute body scans, just starting at the crown of the head and going to the toes. I tell you, before we even got like halfway down, I was out cold. And that's because it's like it's bringing up the parasympathetic. You're not able to do that intellectually, consciously on your own. And one of the beautiful things about the mind is it can be guided. So I needed a guided meditation, and I would just put the headphones on, turn the lights off, lie in bed, and I would sleep. So that really kind of took me down the path of meditation. And then I took a nightly course. Like every Tuesday, there was a meditation center near my house. And so I started going to that and learning the basics of like what mindfulness is. And then I did some silent retreats. And those were kind of the first experiences that started cracking me open. And then there's been a lot of things I've worked on since then. But that was really the first big steps I took were mindfulness meditation related.
Yeah, if
And
you're
I would say the second one is learning how to control my blood sugar.
mm, yeah, both very important factors. But if your sleep is messed up, no one's happy about that. Like that's something that you're gonna, pardon the pun, wake up to the fact that you need to change
Totally.
something.
Well, you know, it's funny because I get on calls with a lot of medical professionals who are interested in what we're working on,
Yeah.
and none of them ever consider the relevance or the utility of looking at their client's sleep data. And if they were looking at my data, they would see that, hey, this guy's not actually falling asleep till 3 a.m. and then he's getting up at 6 to go to work. You know, there is nothing you can give a person in that situation that's going to improve their health until you fix that problem. So it's just a lot of healthcare professionals are currently not using the data in that way.
Hmm.
We're trying to change that for sure.
For sure. And meditation definitely helps with that. And I know listeners have heard me go on and on about learning how to change your brain waves and how meditation can do that.
Yep.
But even, for me, a lot of my health coaching clients I would see, and myself included, I call myself a recovering perfectionist.
I
So
love
I'm
that
sure
term.
you can relate with
Yeah.
you know, just taking a few seconds before you eat, even if it's like a kale, all organic, gluten-free, like raw vegan salad or whatever. If you're stuck in like fight or flight, your digestion system's gonna be one of the first things to shut down. You're gonna be bloated. You're gonna have your digestive issues. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you eat your body's weight in kale. It's like you
Yep.
have to learn how to reprogram yourself to take a break and like stop churning at that hamster wheel. And another thing, and I think you could probably elaborate more in your own experiences, people are like, well, I don't want to learn to meditate. Like, I don't want to turn into some like soft, like yogi who just sits there all day and like
Yeah.
is super like zened out. Like, I'm passionate. I've got big ideas. I got places to go. Like, I don't want to like be turned down. And my mission is to show people it's the opposite. It's just going to turn that up in a
Yep.
sustainable, focused way because you learn how to focus like you've
Yep.
never focused before through mindfulness meditation.
Agree. The most productive days that I have as an entrepreneur are the ones where the first thing I do in the morning is sit in meditation for 20 minutes, because then I can take the 10,000 possible things to do in my day and like I get the right ones done and they get done efficiently, and I'm just much more effective. And I understand it's hard for people to start. Like when I was learning, there was no Headspace app that could like put some training wheels on for you. And now it's like you can get, and one of the hardest things about meditation, and you mentioned heart math, that was one of the first companies that could actually give you like some real-time feedback. Like, am I doing this right? Like I'm sitting here, eyes are closed, kind of boring. I got all this stuff going through my head. I can't meditate. Uh, but now there's tools that give you some training wheels and like get the basics for you. So I would agree that it's been one of the most helpful things for me. And I don't do it every day, but I know it's there when I need it. I can pick it up anytime things are getting stressful and use it. So it's a skill that you can learn and never forget. And then I use it whenever I need it. It's just there. I don't do the long retreats anymore. I might get back to that at some point, but just having a practice is super helpful for me. And also, like the way you relate to other people changes as you meditate. And if you're someone who works as a boss or a leader or anything like that, I want to show up and be the best person I can for the people that I work with. So it's not just about like, hey, can I squeeze out a few more tasks today, which you probably could. It's about how do you show up with the right energy and be the person that other people want to be around and that other people want to work with. And that's also part of it. If you're looking at it purely from a work point of view, it's also the interpersonal part.
Yep, and building that self-awareness, not only the interpersonal awareness, but the awareness of like, where did I go unconscious today, or where did I go into fight or flight, and be like
Yep.
with this more observational view and not the guilt and the shame and like should all over yourself is what I like to say.
Yeah.
Instead to be like, all right, tomorrow if I get that snippy email from somebody, I'm gonna take a breath, wait 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna
Oh man,
respond.
I
Like
do that all the time. I have to use a 24-hour rule sometimes. And
yeah,
that's like something I would never do. You know what I mean? I would be reactive and fire back. And now I can just take a pause, creating that space. And then also noticing, like, as you have a thought, noticing physical sensation in your body. Like you might have a thought and that you're angry with someone, and you're all of a sudden, as you're clenching your jaw, or like your heart starts beating faster because you had so this is just a thought, and you can see the physical reaction in your body, and that's all super, super helpful stuff, I think, for skills that we can develop. So I could talk about meditation all day. It's been one of the most helpful things for me. And then there's other parts of it, but that was a really important foundation for me to build personally.
Me as well. And like what you just said, plus pairing that feedback with something like Heads Up Health and your heart
Yep.
rate variability, and that just gives a new kind of depth to that biofeedback, and learning how your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings really do affect your health and your body's response to things.
I'm so happy that more people are learning how to understand heart rate variability. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people don't realize that there is actually a very precise way
Yeah.
to monitor our own stress levels, and it's through that the heart rate variability metric. And for those who are listening, it's essentially a way to measure the time between each heartbeat, and the slight variations between each heartbeat actually give you a very accurate indicator of the load on your autonomic nervous system. So you actually can measure your stress levels now, and then see how things like dietary change and meditation, and when you go to bed, and other lifestyle habits, you can now optimize for stress levels. So I love the fact that people are learning about HRV. I think it's super powerful and underappreciated.
And I'll link in the show notes. We mentioned Heart Math Institute. If
Yep.
you're interested in this, like, they are the resource. And if somebody is some type of practitioner or a coach, like, I haven't done it, but it's something that's on my list of to-dos one day, is you can actually help teach other people and get trained how to help people understand that heart rate variability, which is awesome.
Yep. Yep. It's just, it's one of the more powerful biomarkers out there. And you have to realize, like 10 years ago, the only people who knew what this was were like elite athletes
Yep.
who were measuring. That's where it kind of came in. And even before that, you'd have to go to a hospital to get an HRV reading. And like now you just need a basic heart rate monitor and a free app. And actually, it's incredible that people can just measure this now. So it starts to help. Hopefully people listening can realize like how much powerful technology we have access to, and how we can start using it. It's stuff that just 10 years ago wasn't even available to consumers. And being able to run your own nutrition genome for $99, and like getting an OuraRing that's going to tell you you're getting sick 48 hours before you have any symptoms. And there's just all this really powerful stuff that I think we need to take ownership of our health.
For sure. And I was poking around your site before we got on the call here, and that got me intrigued. So a lot of people listen are either, some type of holistic health practitioner or a coach, and you guys have like portals. I saw something for health coaches or nutritionists too. So do you have like different portals or like trainings for people who want to help other people?
Yep, we have a coaching portal. So if you're a healthcare professional, you can create a professional account and actually send a health dashboard to your clients. And the health dashboard will have the metrics that you want them to pay attention to. So I could set up a dashboard for Lauren and say, okay, I want to have some temperature readings, and I want to have you check your blood sugar in the morning before you wake up. Sorry, not before you wake up. That'll be impossible. Before you have breakfast. uh, but like, give me 7 days of fasted blood sugar in the morning. Super helpful information. Like, what is this person's baseline blood sugar? And then I want to make sure that you're getting high quality sleep and recovery. So like, there's all this incredible ways you can use this with individuals to teach them how to do this for themselves. And once you teach somebody how to fish, like I've got my mom now understanding how to check blood sugar 2 hours after eating. And she's just lowered her blood sugar out of the prediabetes range from not knowing anything to just making some simple dietary changes. She didn't even think that was possible. So there's a professional portal where you can teach people, and if you're a healthcare professional and you're working with someone on health issues and you don't even know how much sleep they're getting, that is like a huge gap in your understanding of this physiology. If you don't know how high their blood sugar is going on a daily basis, if you don't know what their stress levels are, like this is stuff that is going to absolutely improve an outcome you can provide to people if you know how to use this information. So that's what the professional version does. You just send a dashboard to your client and have them measure certain things. They don't need a connected device. They don't have to go buy anything expensive. There's ways they can just start doing it with stuff they probably already have at home.
Awesome. That is very empowering.
So we should get you set up with an account. You can try it out on a few people.
Oh yeah. I'm just going to try it out for myself, but yeah.
Well,
yeah,
once you register, let me know and get your account all set up, and you can nerd out.
Yeah. I know my dad is in like the big data industry, and for years he's been telling me you have to come up with some idea to integrate health with big data and I'm like, Dad, I love you, but
Gotta talk to this guy.
Yeah, and
We're gonna
I'm
get
like,
along fine.
And I told him, I was interviewing you today, and he was like, see, I told you.
Yep.
And it's so awesome that there's tech every area of health possible. I had somebody on a few seasons ago, and they have basically air conditioning or climate controlled sleeping pads because your optimal sleep of your temperature for your
I want
bed.
One of those.
Oh,
yeah. The chilly pads.
Yeah, that's what we had. Yeah.
I've had my eye on one for so long. I crank the AC when I go to bed, but it's not a great use of my electrical bill.
Yeah.
And so if you can get those, I've had my eye on that for a while. There's a new one out now called the Ouler from the same company.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't splurged on that one yet, but it's on my list of toys that I want for sure.
Yeah, big and small. There's tech and things that help you biohack. You just gotta start somewhere, because I know, especially with tech, but just helping people with health in general, when you don't pay attention to something, then there's just like all of the things available. It's a little overwhelming. So
you got to start small.
You got to start somewhere.
But it's so fun. It's so fun when you see the numbers changing in front of your eyes, and you get some affirmations that like, hey, I did this, and my pick your metric just got better right in front of your eyes. And it's actually, it can be super fun when you get into it and start optimizing all this stuff. I'm sure that your dad is he would agree with me on that you can really get a lot of value out of it. I've got my dad completely instrumented with like all of the stuff to measure on him. So hopefully we can make a data nerd out of a lot of people around their health.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like my family fights over there, like, how many steps did you get today, or what sleep score did you get? Like,
yes,
how can I get a 96 sleep score?
Oh man, that's a pretty good one. I'm not gonna lie. I think I had one last week, and I was pretty proud of it. Yeah. So that's where it can get fun for sure.
Yeah, healthy competition. For sure.
Competition. Yeah. Sometimes it's healthy competition with yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like when I'm measuring regularly, that's when I get really good results. And I just came off like 4 weeks of business travel and had put on a bunch of weight, like, 4 weeks, I wasn't working out. I was traveling and wasn't really paying attention to the diet. And, just 2 weeks of consistent regular blood sugar testing and putting my body back into ketosis for 2 weeks, boom, back to normal. So the measuring also keeps you accountable to yourself.
For sure. And with that, I'm going to wrap things up a little bit, because we could go on, but I want people to head over, figure out what Heads Up Health is all about. Did you have anything else you wanted to like kind of wrap and tie a pretty bow on before we close the show today?
No, I think our service is made available to people that want to start taking control and start learning their own body. So I think we've covered a lot of that here, Lauren, and hopefully we've sparked a few ideas for people. So if we did that, then I think we had a successful outcome here on the show.
I agree. And with every show, my listeners know this, but we're so grateful for you for showing up for yourself and creating this tech and this app. But now we're sharing this with all of us.
Yeah.
And spending the time to talk with us today and nerd out and share some new ideas. So I
Yep.
always ask you, how may we, the listeners, be of service for you today as a gift of gratitude in return for your time?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I thought I had one, but I guess, I mean, obviously we have an app that people can use and they can go try it out and sign up for a free account. Even just measure like one thing for a week on your health and see what you can learn about yourself by making some lifestyle changes. And if we wanted to get even more specific than that, Lauren, we've touched on meditation. And could you, for 7 days, record a meditation session inside Heads Up so that you know you did it? You can't BS anybody, and you did it for 7 days in a row. For whatever you can do, 5 minutes in the morning. Let's keep it super simple. And that's a great place to start. You don't need any sophisticated fancy tech. Just measure your meditation for a week. And then you can also see like, hey, did my blood pressure go down? Or do I feel different in any way? So did my sleep get better? So if you have other stuff you can cross-reference it with, great. Otherwise, just go start logging some stuff and see if it's going to be helpful for you. And that's an easy one. Everybody can start with. So it's a little bit of a meditation challenge, I guess would be my answer.
Amazing.
Anybody wants to take me up on it, they can email me, dave@headsuphealth.com. I'll go on the 7-day challenge with anybody.
Good. I will too. I always have a good meditation challenge.
We're on record if that's
We're
what
on
we're doing
record.
then.
We're on record.
7 days?
7 days. I'm pretty good. I might miss a day here and there now, but
I'm not good. I need the challenge. I need the help.
Good. We'll have to put something online here to sign up for a reminder.
Starting tomorrow, the 8th.
Yeah.
I'm committing 20 minutes in the morning for 7 days. I need that accountability.
Right. This episode won't air for about a month or two, so we will loop in before this airs and see how that went for you.
Done deal.
Done. Well, thank you, David, so much for taking the time and nerding out and having a wonderful laugh over things with too.
Yeah, it's great to speak to someone who is supportive and understands what we're trying to do and the importance of learning to self-measure. So it was just an honor to be here. Thank you, Lauren.